You know, every single day, there are millions of tons of cargo and literally hundreds of thousands of people moving across the world's oceans. And you might think of it as this vast, empty space, but it's not. It's actually governed by this incredibly complex and, for the most part, totally invisible legal system. This system controls everything, from a ship's very identity to what happens in a disaster. And we're about to see just how deep it all goes.
So the entire system is built on this one single core concept. A ship is basically a floating piece of the nation whose flag it flies. So if a vessel is flying the Cayman Islands flag, it has to obey Cayman Islands law. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the Pacific or docked in Rotterdam. On the high seas, that flag, it isn't just a piece of cloth. It is the law.
So to really get our heads around how this all works in practice, we're going straight to the source. This is the official Law and Administrative Procedures Manual for ships registered in the Cayman Islands. It's the literal rulebook. And it's going to be our guide as we dive into this hidden legal world.
So where does it all begin? Well, before one of these massive vessels can even think about setting sail, it needs a legal identity. It has to be officially, born into the system.
And that identity comes in the form of this document right here, the Certificate of British Registry, or COBR. The best way to think of it is as the ship's passport. It proves the ship exists legally and it's only for lawful navigation. And the consequences for misusing it, they are severe. We're not talking about a fine here. If this certificate is used improperly, the law says the entire ship is subject to forfeiture. I mean, they can take the whole thing. The stakes are incredibly high from the get-go.
And getting that certificate involves a really meticulous bureaucratic process. As you can see, it's not as simple as just picking a flag you like. Owners have to prove the ship's name is even available, that the vessel and the owner both qualify, provide every single technical detail, and then file a mountain of forms. It's a super rigorous paper trail, and it's all designed to make sure every single ship on the ocean is accounted for and meets very specific standards.
Once it's registered, that legal identity is made physical. The law actually requires the ship to be permanently and conspicuously marked. Its name goes on the bows and stern, and its official number is literally carved right into the main structure. It's kind of like a car's VIN number, but it's welded onto a 200,000-ton vessel, a permanent marker of its identity that you can't just wipe away.
Okay, now here's a really fascinating legal twist. A ship can actually change its nationality. Well, temporarily. Through something called a bareboat charter, an owner can lease their entire ship to someone else. That new operator can then register it under a completely different flag for the duration of the contract. So what does this mean? It means a German-owned ship could legally become a Cayman Island ship for a few years, operating entirely under Cayman law. Pretty wild, right?
So the ship itself is a legal entity. We've got that down. But what about the people who actually live and work on board? Well, the law has a lot to say about them, too.
The foundational document for every single person working on that ship is the crew agreement. Now, this is not your standard company contract. It's a legally mandated, officially approved agreement that outlines all the terms of employment. And absolutely no one works on board without one. Period.
The law is also incredibly specific about protecting the crew from dangerous levels of fatigue, and it all comes down to one non-negotiable rule. Every seafarer must get a minimum of 10 hours of rest in any 24-hour period. It can be split up, sure, but one of those rest periods has to be at least 6 hours long. This is not a suggestion, it's a hard and fast rule designed to prevent disaster.
And the law puts the responsibility for this squarely on one person's shoulders, the ship's master or the captain. The manual states it crystal clear. They cannot leave port unless the officers taking that first watch are properly rested. The safety of the entire ship and everyone on it literally depends on the crew being fit for duty.
And the law also covers basic welfare. At least once every 7 days, the master, along with another crew member, has to formally inspect the crew's living quarters, their food, and their water supplies. And everything gets meticulously documented in the official logbook. It's a system that ensures basic living standards are being maintained, even when you're thousands of miles from shore.
Okay, so the ship has its identity, the crew has its legal protections. Now let's look at the rules that govern the ship's actions when it's actually out on the open ocean.
To prevent what would be total chaos, every vessel on the planet has to follow the same traffic laws. They're called the COLREGs, which stands for the International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea. They cover everything from which ship has the right of way to what light signals you show at night. It's the global rulebook that keeps maritime traffic from just descending into a free-for-all.
But what if those rules fail and a collision happens? The law is unequivocal. After a collision, every master has a legal duty to, and I'm quoting here, render to the other ship such assistance as may be practicable, without of course endangering their own vessel. Abandoning another ship in distress isn't just morally wrong, it's illegal. It's truly one of the most fundamental principles of the sea.
But sometimes, things do go very wrong. Let's take a look at the procedures that kick into high gear when disaster strikes.
When something goes wrong, there's a strict, non-negotiable timeline for reporting it. If the entire vessel is lost or if someone is killed, the report must be immediate. A collision? You've got a 24-hour deadline. Run aground? That has to be reported as soon as practicable. This whole rapid reporting system is crucial for launching investigations and potential rescue operations, making sure there's a swift, formal response to any emergency.
And you know, throughout this entire manual, one thing is made perfectly clear over and over again. This is not just about paperwork. Many of these breaches are considered criminal offenses that carry really severe penalties. This invisible system of law has very real teeth.
So, from a ship's birth certificate all the way to the rules of rescue, this invisible code governs life on the high seas. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other powerful and visible rulebooks are out there, quietly shaping our modern world?